And I do remember one senior guy there. He has since passed on, but I remember him telling me, "Listen, you want to survive in this career, you allow other people to dictate how you're going to treat them." Basically, meaning be cool, be polite, be respectful to everybody, and if they choose to go the other way, then you can go ahead and ramp it up and go the other way, because you can't go the other way and start out being an asshole and expect somebody to respect you. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
That's just law enforcement 101.
Tales from the streets.
Go, brother.
What's up, everybody? Today we're going to be sitting down with George Creamer, retired sergeant, LA County Sheriff's. Did 32 years in law enforcement. Started in 1988 when I was in seventh grade, I think that was.
I was 5, but that's fine. We'll keep it going.
Most of his experience was with the special weapons team. Started there in 2000, got promoted out in 2015, and you ended up on as a patrol sergeant in your last 5 years.
No, so I went to patrol out in our Palmdale station, which was it's one of our busier North County stations. I mean, they're averaging 500-600 calls for service every 24 hours.
Oh my
So
God.
it's
Not a big deal.
extremely busy. So yeah, I did that for about 18 months. And then I went down, I was asked to come back down and run basically LA's top 10 most wanted parolee task force. So
Okay, that's
what
pretty cool.
that's how I finished it out. So it was pretty good.
So George, just for
One way.
perspective purposes, I mean, LA County, you think the city of LA, right? LA County is huge. Like how much area did you have to? I mean, how much were you covering as far as like being a part of the county?
Yeah, well, the county itself is about 4,600 square miles and extremely diverse.
So
Very
crazy.
diverse. So you could be at the beach down in Malibu, or you could be up in the mountains, which come just under 11,000 feet, or you can be out in the desert. You can be in the metropolitan city. You could be in the rural areas. It has everything.
Yeah.
Along with the like eight plus million people that live there. So
Yeah.
yeah, plenty busy.
Wild. Well, let's touch on this first because you didn't start off in that type of metropolis. But can we talk a little bit about where you grew up, how you grew up, and then we'll get into what got you into law enforcement and out to LA County.
Yeah, for sure. So a majority of my youth, I grew up in the state of Wyoming. I lived in a couple of small towns. Populations were never exceeding 3,000-4,000 people. Um,
So,
But yeah, I spent most of my time there, and
yeah.
uh, spending all my time outdoors. I've
Mhm.
had some type of a gun in my hand since I was 5 years old or so. Hunting
Mhm.
with my dad, and then camping and fishing, all that stuff. Typical stuff that you do in the state of Wyoming. So
That's
yeah, it's a
so
good place
amazing.
to grow up. Yeah.
Yeah, and Wyoming only has, we just talked about it, like 500,000 people for the state, or maybe a little bit more.
Yeah,
Little
yeah,
rural.
about just over 500,000 people in the entire state. Yeah, it's like one person for every 6 square miles. So if you're looking for seclusion, you don't want to be
Yeah,
around
yeah.
anybody. That's where you want to go.
I just left Penn Station. I think there's about 500,000 people in Penn Station. I left.
Just there, yeah. Just in one area.
Yeah,
Shit, that's
for
great.
sure.
All right, so let's. I want to tie into the story because you said there's a story. What you grew up in Wyoming, and then you're like, I want to be, or well, I don't know what the process was. I'm going to be a cop, and you ended up in L.A. So what was that? What occurred to make that happen?
Well, it was okay. It's kind of a funny story. So,
Yeah.
when I was in elementary school, uh,
Okay.
you take field trips, right? So we took a field trip actually to the local city jail, and I think I was in like fifth grade. And
That's so
I'm
crazy.
telling,
All right.
this is
I'm sorry. Go
Wyoming. Where
ahead.
else you gonna go? You can't go down to the local mini mart. It doesn't matter. So, we took a field trip to the local city jail, and we go in there, and it is just chaos. I mean, what are you, like 12, 13 years old when
Yeah.
you're doing this kind of stuff, and however old you are, and there's just, these inmates are banging on the glass and they're doing this and doing that. And I just remember my teacher, he's like, "Hey, you guys have a choice in life. You can go here and hang out with these guys, or you could be a good, a good
Yeah.
student and a good civilian. You do this and that and the other." And I'm thinking, man, I don't want to do that side of the block. So,
Yeah.
um, so what had ended up happening, so we go do that thing. Well, me being me, I was skipping school. I skipped school for like a week straight,
Mhm.
and I got caught, right? I got caught
Mhm.
slipping, and what ended up happening, because I was fishing, like I went with my buddy, we were fishing every
Yeah.
single day, but we're skipping school, so we get caught. And my mom, being the creative woman that she is, she's like, "Hey, uh, you know, you're not showing up for school. What happened? This and that." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, and then she found out, right? So I'm not gonna lie to my mom. Yeah, we were
Yeah.
fishing, whatever." She's like, "Okay, all right, no problem. School wants to put you in detention, whatever." So she goes a step further, gets a hold of me. She says, "Hey, listen, they're contemplating sending you to the boys' home in Worland, Wyoming." And everybody my age was like, "No, that's where all the dirtbags go. All the
Yeah.
bad kids, they all go to Worland, Wyoming, that kind of a
Yeah.
thing." And you're like, "Oh my gosh, I don't want to go there." And so she comes up with this plan, and she worked for a law firm, and
Oh.
I ended up uh, going in front of her boss, the attorney, and man, he put it on. He's like,
Oh,
So
"Listen,
good.
I talked to the boys' home. Uh, they have an open bed for you. They're really upset. They don't, he goes through the whole thing, and I'm sitting there, and I don't know if I'm crying. I don't know if I'm, shaking like a puppy shitting peach pits, or, whatever's going on. But, he's talking about me sleeping on my back with my shoes on, all kinds of stuff. I
Yeah.
don't want to go to the boys' home, right?
Yeah.
Man, I'm telling you, from that point on, I was a complete angel. And I
can
told
you
my,
just say, "I'll just take the beating instead"?
oh, yeah.
And I love all this because he was fishing with his buddies. Like, yeah.
I was just
th-
fishing. I fish it, and it wasn't even good rainbows. It was all sucker fish, right? So anyway, but, so, a couple years had passed at that, and I had kinda told my dad, I said, "Hey, you know what? I think if I'm not going to be with the game and fish, I
Yeah.
I I wanna be in law enforcement." And he said, "Okay, that's fine if you wanna do that." But he said, "Listen, I don't think it's a good idea that you're law enforcement in our town." He goes, "It's too small." Uh, he's wiser than I am, clearly, but he's like, "In a matter of time, you're gonna be arresting your friends you went to high school with. You're gonna be going to houses where,
Yeah.
girls that you grew up with are getting beat by their husbands who you know. You might see your friends wrapped around telephone poles." He goes, "That's not good. That's not a good way to live your life." And I'm like,
Nope.
"Okay." So, and it just so happened that at that time, my parents were splitting up and my mom was moving to California. And my dad said, "Hey, I don't want you to go, but if you want to be a cop," and these are his words, "you want to be a cop, go to the Super Bowl, go to LA." I'm like,
I mean,
"Okay."
yeah.
So
Oh,
I did.
yeah.
I went with my mom. I went to LA. I finished high school out there, just a couple years of high school. And then I started applying for the community service job for the LA County Sheriff's Department, because I knew you had to be a certain age to be a deputy, but I thought I'd get my foot in the door, right? So,
Hmm.
and that, I'm telling you, that turned into an entire story in and of itself, because I went down to take the test for the community service officer job, which, you just cruise around, you take little bicycle stolen reports or whatever,
Yeah.
because I knew you had to be 21. I was 19. So,
Yeah.
man, I ended up going through this, and I took the test. "Hey, you scored well. Here you go. Now you move on to this. You move on to this. You move on to this." And I'm thinking to myself, as this whole process is going, I'm going, "Gosh, man, this sure is a lot of stuff to do to be, a civilian riding, cruising around taking little reports, right?"
Yeah.
And then I'll skip all the nonsense, but I ended up in this interview room, And I walk in, and now remember, I'm being directed by my background investigator.
Mhm.
Hey, show up here, So I show up and I walk into this room, and it's two sergeants and a lieutenant sitting at this table. And I can say this now because I'm retired, but man, that lieutenant was liquored up, just liquored. And I'm thinking, dang man, I'm
Yeah,
like,
what's
okay,
going
I'm
on?
19, I can figure this whole thing out, right?
Yeah.
And they start just peppering me with all these questions. And, they're like, hey, uh, the one guy, after answering a bunch of questions on why I want to be there, how I want to serve the community, all this other stuff, this one sergeant, he's like, hey, can you kill somebody? I'm like, excuse me? I'm thinking, bro, I'm just trying to drive around and take little stolen bike reports, man. I don't know.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and I throw out the old typical, the old number four, right? I'm like, well, sir, in the defense of myself and for the
Yeah.
saving of
Yeah.
other people, the bullshit story, right? So,
Yeah.
and he's sitting there and he's looking at me, and the old lieutenant over there, just big old red bulbous nose, he's just liquored up,
Yeah. Yeah.
and he's all, "What are you here for?" And I said, "Oh, I'm here for the community service officer job up in Santa Clarita for the county." He's like, "Well, these are deputy sheriff interviews. How did you get in here?" I'm like, "That's where my background investigator sent me."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Huh. All right. Well, who's your background investigator?" And I won't divulge, but I told him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they look at each other and they're like, "Oh my God, that knucklehead," right? So I'm like, "Well, here it goes, man."
Oh well, shit.
And that lieutenant, he's all, well, let me ask you this. What kind of treatment do you think you're going to get from the citizens if you're working in Firestone? And I'm thinking to myself, well, I'm from Wyoming. I know what Firestone tires are, but I certainly don't know what the community of Firestone is. I have
No,
no
I have no
idea, right?
idea. Yeah.
So I just say, well, sir, no matter what the community is, I'm sure there's good people and there's bad people, all that. Just some bullshit story,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And and he's just like looking at me and he's like, "Get out of here." He goes, "Go sit in the hallway." I'm like, "Oh man." So I go out there and I sit in the hallway, and there's like 10 other people out there or whatever, and they're like, "Hey, how'd
Yeah.
it go?" I'm like, I really don't know. I really they told me to come out here and sit in the hallway, right? 30, 40 minutes pass by, whatever. They call me back in and he goes, "Hey, okay, you did well. Here you go. You get a whatever. We'll turn your paperwork in. Congrats, whatever." And they kicked me out the door, right? I'm like, okay,
Hmm.
so these are deputy sheriff interviews, and I did well, and when I was
Yeah.
just trying to be the little guy. So I end up getting a phone call, maybe 3 months later after I went through a couple of other things, and they're like, "Hey, LA County, you still interested in work?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Okay, well, you start off the," they called them off the streeters. You weren't sworn, but you were assigned because you were hired by the county, right?
Yeah.
"Hey, you're an off the street, or you're assigned to Men's Central Jail Court Division, whatever. And your academy date is uh, December 26th, 88." I'm like, "Okay." So I do the off the streeter thing. I start the academy, and I think we're in the academy. So that makes me, I had just turned 20, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
So it's January, and they're like, "Hey, let me, they give you all your paperwork and stuff. Hey, everybody check your paperwork, make sure everything's good, like whatever." So I take my folder and I'm going through my folder in class, and I'm looking, I'm like, huh, hey, I was born in 1968 and they've got like 1965 on my paperwork. And I'm like, okay. So I go, knock on the door, "Sir, recruit Creamer," whatever. And they're like, "Get in here." I go walking in there. They're like, "What do you want?" I said, "Sir, I have the," and I explained the whole thing to him, and he goes, "Well, you have to be 21 years old when you're sworn in April." I'm like, "Yes, sir. I do. I would assume that." And he goes, "Your birthday is not until November." I said, "Yes, sir."
Yep.
He's like,
That's the problem.
"Yeah, that's a problem." I'm like, he goes, "Well, how did this happen?" I go, "Sir, I don't know. I just, you told me to check it. Here I am checking it. I'm coming into you."
Yeah.
Anyway, he's like, "Dang it, get out of here, Kramer. I'll take care of it." And I'm like, "Well, there goes that. I guess I'm going to pack my briefcase and all that other stuff."
Yeah.
Tyler, I never heard a single word
Yeah.
about it. I graduated in April and off I went, Mr. Law Enforcement at 20 years old. So,
32 years in, and I mean, I have 12 in. Sorry, well, 15 total. I'm about to hit my yeah. Anyway, I don't math. But you know what happened in the background? They were like, "Shit." They're like, "You know what? Fuck it, just let it ride. Don't say
yeah,
anything." Nobody
yeah,
wanted to eat
yeah.
that one. They're like,
A
"He's already
lot of
trained."
a lot of under the carpet shit going on, man. So,
Yeah, it'll be fine. Nobody will ask. He'll be fine. He'll be fine. Just
so yeah, so that's how the hiring process went. So, and I went to the academy, graduated the academy, and you know, it's the county, so you got to go work the jails. And I went and worked
Oh,
the jails, and
see, I worked Hillsborough County. We didn't have to do that. You had a choice, and you could go road or jail. You didn't have
Hillsborough
to
in
do.
Florida.
Yeah, Hillsborough County, Florida.
Oh, okay, I like those
Yeah,
guys. Yeah, I have. I've worked with them before. Yeah, good guys.
yeah.
So
Yeah, it's interesting. I didn't realize a lot of counties do that.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So which was interesting. I found it. I'm young, so I didn't. I just figured, hey, man, I got a cool ass job, and this
yeah.
is where I wanted to be and stuff like that. And it's a county jail, man. It's not like I wanted to make a career out of that thing, but you did learn a lot. I had, I think I was smart enough to listen to the folks that have been around a while.
Hmm.
Um, I'm not trying to come in and reinvent the wheel or anything, but listen to the guys that have been around a while, and they can educate you and pull you through. And I did a lot of that, learned a lot about gangsters and all that other stuff because they used to tell you, hey, these dudes right here, they're just in jail clothing. They'll be out wearing street clothes, all the same people, that kind of thing. So,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, it was interesting because we can at that time, uh, you were able to fill out a wish list on where you wanted to go to patrol, right?
Hmm.
So you filled out these stations. You had 6 choices. Now I think it's only 3 choices, but you had 6 choices, right? And I put a filler in there. I put Malibu as like my 6th choice. And I'm like, because I put all the ghetto stations all up top. I
Yeah.
figured, just go to those things, right? So I get a call from the trainee sergeant. Hey, come
Yeah.
see me, whatever. So I go in, hey, sir, how you doing? He goes, hey, you're going to patrol. And I'd only been in custody for like maybe 18 months or so, 19 months.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, okay, awesome. Where am I going?
Cool.
He goes, you're going to Malibu. I'm like, no, 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 I'm not actually. Because you had the option to extend, right? If you didn't want to go. I
Yeah.
said, you know what, sir, I'll extend and I'll wait until I get my other choices. And once again, somebody a lot brighter than me, he's like, let me tell you something. Uh, if you wait, the county is going to be on a freeze, a hiring freeze. You're going to end up working the jails for 5, 6 years, if not more. He
Wow.
goes, you take this position out there in Malibu, get off training, then you can transfer to Lennox. And I'm like, yeah, but don't you get that backdoor jacket? You're like, you're not really ghetto trained. And he's like, really? I'm like, well, whatever. I didn't know,
I
whatever.
don't know. I'm learning.
So yeah, so I listened to him, and I did. I went out to patrol. I'd only been in custody 24 months. I went out to patrol, and I worked out there for almost 3 years. By the time my transfer went to, and then I went straight down to Lennox, down to South Central.
All right,
So
hold on. I got to back up just a little bit because I'm trying to wrap. One, do they still hire into the county straight from high school? Well, not straight, but you know what I mean. Do you need a college degree now? Because a lot of
no,
agencies are doing that.
no, you
No,
don't. And I got to give it to the county. And I think that we all know, especially in today's climate, like you look at half of the colleges out there, and you're like,
no.
you
Yeah,
know,
I agree.
you know,
I think it's a huge swing and a miss that they're trying to make. I understand that it's a profession. I don't want to get down this road, but I understand why agencies do it. But I'm like, I met many mentors that they didn't have college degrees, but they, whatever, they had life experience.
right,
Great cops, because
right,
you got to learn how to talk to people, right?
right.
And then I'm like, do we have too many cops? Is that what's happening? I'm being facetious there because we're everyone's dying. So
Y
I think the concept,
yeah,
as long as you're trained well.
right, yeah. And
Yeah.
and a lot of that, I believe, like, we have, like, I would always tell people, 'cause, like, while I was at the sheriff's department, I went to school a couple years or a year at Glendale College.
Mhm.
That didn't work out, and then I did some stuff at Rio Hondo College and, stuff like that just to kind of expand, on the degree, but
Yeah.
what I really figured out is my police degree was I always joked about it. It was the University of South Central Los Angeles, Vermont.
Yeah.
That's where I got all of my policing stuff. But I got to hand it to the county. They really do aggressively push that once you do get hired, whether if you don't have a 4-year degree or even if you do, the county really pushes you to get your 4-year degree or even a master's degree
Yeah.
um, at the University of LA County Sheriffs, whatever that thing is that they do, a bunch of online training and stuff like that. So, and I get it if you guys want to really, really climb that ladder and stuff. It does. It looks a lot better on your resume when you're going to be picking between a guy that, a guy like me that's just a grunt in the field of law enforcement, or a dude that's like done a little bit of time here, but he's got an education going with him too. So I understand that.
No, and listen, I had a business degree when I started my law enforcement career, and then I got my master's in criminal justice. And what I'll say is, once I got the master's, once I was like, this is going to be my profession. I really enjoyed it. I learned a lot, and I learned a lot of historical. It was worth the time. But with that being said, the actual job of being a cop, I would say, you can't learn that in a classroom. You
Right.
have to be in the field. All right.
Yeah.
Second phase of that is you're 20 years old from Wyoming, and not only are you're in fucking LA, and you're in the jails with like I try to tell people all the time, cops are cops everywhere, but there's different levels, man. You're not knocking anybody, but like you're a cop in a small town with like 5 or 6 cops or whatever. LA is like legit, like cartels, criminals, murderer, like it's
Yeah.
legit. And here you are, not even really old enough to be there, and you're in there with them. Like, what was that? I mean, how did you process that? Was it just like, yeah, fuck it, here we are?
Yeah, that's kind of how it was,
That's
and
so wild.
I think that I am grateful to a lot of the intelligent people that were there with seniority
Yeah,
before me that would kinda, like, help you out and give you the do's and the don'ts, and I do remember, one senior guy there, he has since passed on, but I remember him telling me, "Listen, you wanna survive in this career? You allow other people to dictate how you're going to treat them." Basically meaning, be cool, be polite, be respectful to everybody, and if they choose to go the other way, then you can go ahead and ramp it up and go the other way. Because you can't go the other way and start out being an asshole and expect somebody to respect you. It's not going to happen.
yeah,
That's just law enforcement 101. If you want to have a long standing, good career,
yeah,
I may hate to the core the person I'm talking to out on the street, but that's not
mhm.
the point. You
Nope,
just, hey, you know, I don't, I just don't treat people badly, and in the jails, you kinda learn how to talk to people and stuff like that, because when you get out on the street, um, that's just how it's gonna be out on the
yeah,
street, and, if you go out there and, like, we all know, we've all seen enough cops, and you start trying to act like a badass or something like that, and,
mhm,
you know, you're gonna get your ass handed to you eventually. You're gonna come across the wrong guy, and,
yeah,
but don't get me wrong, there was still plenty of I wrestled when I was growing up, so,
yeah,
um, inside the jails, there are plenty of fights, but you know how it is, not like you're standing there duking it out, man,
yeah,
that shit hits the concrete within 10, 15 seconds, so,
yep.
as long as, I knew how to wrestle and stuff like that, and, um but yeah,
You
it
be
was just that's the way it was, and then, I was happy to go out to patrol. I longed for
Yeah.
that freedom of being out in that car and making my own choices for sure.
No, and I wanna get to South Central. I had the condensed version of what you described, one of my sergeants was like, "Look, man, be nice until it's time to not be nice, and then at that point, we don't lose." And I was like,
Mhm.
"Understood." And that I mean, that was his version of what you just said, but 100%
Yeah.
absolutely correct.
Yeah. 100%. I agree. So,
So then we go to South Central,
yeah,
which you wanted to do.
which I wanted to do, but I
Okay.
came, but I came with a jacket because you
Okay.
gotta think about this. You've got all these hard ghetto cops down there, right?
Yeah.
And here comes the
Malibu.
transfer from Malibu, right?
Yeah.
And,
I
and
love it, dude.
I knew it was coming, but, luckily
Yeah.
I had friends that worked down there, which,
Yeah.
that helped because, you got your friends that are saying, "Hey, give the dude a break, man. He's good to," whatever.
Yeah, he was just trying to get out of
Um,
the jail, bro. Give him a break.
but it was still, you roll down there and you're that guy. You're a
Yeah.
backdoor, you never wanted to come to the ghetto, and that just wasn't true, um, but it ended up being very interesting, so I got there, I was assigned to the early morning shift, which was 2100 to 05, and they gave me a partner, and I'm sure my partner was like, "This guy's a chump," whatever it's gonna be, he's
Yeah.
rolling around on the beach team or whatever he's doing, so,
Wearing bike shorts.
um,
I got you.
yeah, and, so anyway, I ended up working with this guy, and, I was never like a smaller guy. I think when I got out to patrol, I was probably 190, 195,
Okay.
and the dude, my radio car partner that I'm working with at this time that I just met, he's scratching for 150, 155. But man, he was clever. He was
Yeah.
clever and he was good. He was a good talker. So I
Yeah.
think the first 3 weeks that him and I worked, because you work in a cycle of a month, right? So the first 3 weeks that we worked together, uh, it was it was me having to kind of prove to him that, hey man, I got you. You're not going to get hurt out here. I know what I'm doing, that kind of a thing,
Yeah.
right? So that worked out really well. And again, I'm just like really skirting through this stuff, but
No, I appreciate it. Yeah.
but you'll love this. So eventually I come in, right? And I'm solo, right? I'm like, huh. So you had the central car, which was 32 with partners, and then I was the solo 32 Adam, right? And guys, I am not kidding you, Tyler, Vic. It was uh, okay. So you just kind of have to remember, I come from Malibu and I'm coming down to South Central, right?
Yeah.
So for my first like cycle of being by myself, I probably hooked 20, 25 different people for drugs. I was in 4 or 5 different pursuits. I had foot pursuits, vehicle pursuits, all over the place,
Mhm.
to the point where one guy actually comes up to me and he's like, "What are you doing out there, dude?" And to me, you guys got to put yourself in my shoes, right?
Yeah.
In police work, that's what you're doing.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
like, I'm all, "What are you talking about?" And because I just figured it's South Central, right? You open up your back doors, you drive backwards, and you fill the car up full of bad guys. I just figured this is the way that it worked, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And he's he's like, "I don't know what you're doing, man, but there's a lot of activity going on, this kind of a thing, right?" So
Yeah.
so I come into to early mornings, and I'm sitting down and briefing, and in walks the watch commander, right? And he goes, "Hey, I'm riding with you tonight." I'm like, "Yes, sir. Not a problem." I'm like, "Huh,
Yeah.
that's interesting." And I'm working down in our southern area, which is called Lawndale. I said, "All right, whatever." So we get in the car or whatever. I'm driving. I'm like, "Hey, sir, anywhere you want to go?" And he's like, "No, just work. Just do your thing." I'm like, "Oh, okay, whatever." And
Alright.
so we're driving down Hawthorne Boulevard, and like literally, I think we're like 30 minutes into our shift. We're driving down Hawthorne Boulevard, and I see these gangsters in this car right around like 166th Street. And I'm looking at them. I'm like, that doesn't look right. So I spin around on them. As soon as I do, right, their lights go off and they punch it, right? So I go after them and they do a U-turn. They go flying up Hawthorne Boulevard.
Yeah.
And I'm putting out that we're in pursuit. Back then you could just, it's like, "Hey,
Do
I'm in
it.
pursuit of a reckless, whatever."
Yeah.
You didn't have to, whatever. So these guys, they fly down, they come back up 166 and they hang a right turn, and we're chasing them. And I'm looking over and LT's got, he's all gripped on the seat and this and that and the other. And I'm all, hey, sir, would you mind putting this out? Because I'm a little busy, you know, I'm trying to drive the car and this and that. And he's like, I'm not even out here. I'm not even out here. You know, trying to do the old. Long story short, these gangsters hit these train tracks and launch their car like into a fence and a tree. And it's just a disaster all over the place. And we pull up there and we don't even have to go after anybody, man. They're wrapped up. One dude's through the windshield, another guy's laying in the grass.
Oh boy.
Just a disaster.
Yeah.
And all the other cars start pulling up. And
At least you had a lieutenant on scene.
Well, yeah, he's right here.
Funny you say that, Vic, because I'm out there trying to do my thing, you know, get these guys all squared away. And one of the my sister cars comes up and goes, hey, dude, what do you need me to do? This and that, and the other. I said, oh, it's all good right here. And I go, hey, can you get a hold of so and so? Hey, have him come over here. I want to ask him a question. And he goes, no, dude, he's on a detail. I go, what? He's like, yeah, he's taking the LT back to the station. LT said he was never here.
No, my name's not on that report.
So, yeah, exactly. So, but you know, that's policing in the 90s, you know, and I'm just like, so, but then I think after that, I ended up about 2 years later, because I had good partners, I ended up becoming a field training officer, made my name there and all that other stuff. And then, that's kind of my springboard over to the SWAT team. So, but South Central was just full of nothing but fun stories, fun excitement. So
fun cop stuff.
So from Malibu to South Central, how many years was that?
So a total of, let's see, 9.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
9 years of patrol.
Wow.
Yeah. So
that's good though. So did you have in your head you wanted to go to SWAT, or did it just kind of as you got in your career, you was like, oh, this might be interesting? Or
I did, only after I had seen, I mean, clearly I knew that we had a SWAT team, right? So
yeah.
As a matter of fact, we had a gal in our academy class that swore up and down she was going to be the first female SWAT person to go to SEB, and yeah, that didn't work out. But anyway, so I would see them when we had call outs, you know, barricades in Lenox, and you know, K9 was out there a lot, and K9's part of SEB as well, so we would talk to them a lot. So I just kind of figure, I said, you know what, that's kind of where I want to go, man. You can be, you can do the outdoors thing, you know, and I always thought that like tactics, like police tactics, everywhere from patrol all the way up to SWAT, it's always been like a big chess game for me, you know, where, you know, I want to outsmart this guy. I want to make a couple moves here and outsmart this crook, right? We all do that. We're all cops, right? So, so I knew that that's where I kind of wanted to go. And I figured I was in the right spot, but you had to, I mean, there for a while, they were, you know, SEB would, you know, hold a application process for, you know, 2 spots, and 100+ people would show up for it, you know? So it's like, man, and you really kind of had to know somebody that was there that could actually vouch for you and say, you know, hey man, this guy's a worker, this guy does this, and he's a good person, and you know, that kind of a stuff. So, yeah, so I fought that battle of applying to get to SEB for probably 3 to 4 years before I got picked up. Yeah,
that's crazy.
Was it guys were the guys were just in a unit and they were getting promoted out? Is that how the spots opened up?
It's a variety of things, Vic. It could be promotions, because at SEB you don't have to leave. You can stay on the SWAT team your entire career if you want to.
Dude, that's
so
sick.
You've got injuries, guys that want to promote out, guys that retire. So then those spots start to get filled up. And on top of that, you know, they kind of wanted to bump the teams up a little bit. You start going through attrition and stuff like that. You know, because SEB runs on, you know, 6 teams of 8 at full capacity, and it's never like that because you got so many injuries and stuff like that, because it's, you know, the whole SWAT team, that's a completely different animal out there. It's not a collateral job. It's full time, you know, so, you know, you get worked over. So you get a lot of
Yeah.
injuries. So, but yeah, and
So, my question. So how many sworn law enforcement are in L.A. County? I'm just trying to get my head wrapped around it.
how many sworn in L.A.
L.A.
County?
County, like I guess
Oh,
for the
so
county, not
for the sheriff's department?
yes, yeah,
Yeah. So the sheriff's department usually at one point we were 10,000 sworn. And then, that's gone down
yeah,
clearly, just like
yeah.
everywhere. Everybody's struggling to
Oh,
get
for sure.
police officers, but that's gone down. But you had,
But at the time when you were there, it was about
yeah,
roughly,
it's about 9 to 10,000 sworn,
and you guys had
and
about
that's that's all the
hun
ranks. You know,
yeah, you had about 100. I call them SWAT, but whatever. You had a total, or how was it broken? I'm just trying to get my head wrapped around it.
so our tactical team was, let's just call it around. You got 5 different details that are there, right? So you
Okay,
have the special enforcement detail. And
okay,
under that umbrella, you have hazmat, arson
okay.
explosives, canine, SWAT, and the ESD guys, which are our tactical medics.
Got it.
So within all of that right there, you're probably looking at 80 people, maybe right around there.
See, to me, that's crazy. I would have thought it would be much more, but I guess it was full time, so I'm tracking. I've never worked for an agency where it was a full time. It was always an additional, I guess, job or whatever.
Right.
I'm a big fan of the permanent because it's a lot of training. Anyway, all the stuff that is required.
Hmm.
So, how many call outs, I guess, was your team doing? Just to kind of put that in perspective, like in a year, or I don't know how you guys kept track of that.
So every call out does get tracked, and just like most of the entire country, your bread and butter are high risk warrants for like
Yeah.
tactical teams, right? So, but I think the lowest I've ever seen SEB at my time there, the lowest I think call outs was about 165 to 170 right there. But a
That's okay.
majority of the time, I
Yeah.
mean, there's been times depending on details and all that other stuff, activations and things that, I mean, you're clicking over 230, 240,
Wow. See,
for a year.
that's
So,
yeah.
um,
That's why you need a full time team.
yeah, yeah. And and that's just for the county, right? So you still got our big brothers in, uh, Blue down the street, the other big
Yeah.
dogs on the block, LAPD, they're cranking out 150, 160, 170 as well. So,
Would you guys
um,
work together, or was it completely separate for you guys?
no, we would work together. We always had a really good relationship with LAPD, like mutual aid.
Okay.
If they needed us, we'd go help them. If they needed us, we'd
Yeah.
it all just worked the same. And that was with every agency within LA County, like the sheriff's department. You get a random small agency that's in our county. They have a small collateral SWAT team. If they get something that's just a little bit too much, they'll call us.
Yeah.
Um, the unfortunate part of that is once we step in,
It's
that's
your
it.
show.
We
Yeah.
take it all.
Yeah.
We can't blend those tactical teams together, even though they probably go to our SWAT school and we talk and train with them. But
Yeah.
it all comes down to command, who's in
Yeah,
charge.
it's two different languages, basically.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. That
So,
makes sense. I don't want to jump too far ahead, but I do find how you and Vic came together very interesting. Just how that all came to be, where LA came out to New Jersey to help, well, train, build. I don't want to put words in either of your mouth. The A SWAT team that was being built from the ground up.
mhm.
I don't know, Vic, if you want to how you want to lead into that, because I think that's very interesting.
Yeah. So I was given a task of once we got the armored vehicle to, basically start finding guys that we could train with.
Yeah.
I mean, who better to train with than guys from out west, especially because the way they use the vehicle, it's not only, for transportation purposes. It's an
Yeah.
ARV, it's an armored rescue vehicle.
Yeah.
So just learning the tactics that they would show. I mean, it was kind of a no brainer just to start asking around and getting them. That's how I got in touch with George.
Mhm.
And then once they came, you think of like California and New Jersey as far as like rules of engagement, things like that. They almost align pretty well together because you almost have the
Interesting.
type of philosophies when it comes to tactics and the stuff that we were carrying.
Okay.
So that's how we kind of implemented the LA side of things. We've trained with both, George being with LA County, and we've done canine stuff and other HRT stuff and other tactics with LAPD as well. So we kind
George,
of took a big mishmash of West Coast tactics and brought them over to us.
So George, I guess my question, because I've never heard of it. Not, it doesn't matter. I was never on a specialty team, but was that a common occurrence? Would you travel out to train other, either train them or train with them, or however that works, other agencies?
Yeah, so it kind of worked both ways. Like a lot of times SEB would go out and train with other agencies per request. Like we had, we would go to Alabama and work down in Tuscaloosa a lot. We go over to Hawaii. We would do all of our local agencies for sure.
Yeah.
Right. So it kind of what ended up happening is NTOA, which was birthed basically out of SEB from John Coleman way back
Yeah.
in the day, uh, the NTOA would ask us being SEB, hey, can you guys send a couple guys out here to train whatever agency for high risk warrant or whatever it's going to be? Sure, we try and find a couple guys, because we are busy, we're full time, we're busy, so we would send a couple guys out. So, and and don't get me wrong. I love the NTOA and I love everything they stand for. I love those guys that are over there. They're doing a really good job. Um, but what I ended up discovering was I was asked to go do some training somewhere, and I was meeting up with another law enforcement officer from a different city. It wasn't like SEB and that's it, right? So,
Yeah.
and we were asked to train on some high risk warrant stuff, right? So I met the other officer from the agency, and his philosophy on high risk warrant service and movement and stuff like that completely different than mine. Completely different than SEB's. And so it was very frustrating actually for the students because they're like, well, wait a minute, this guy's saying this and this guy's saying that. Well, how
Yeah.
do we get around this? And it was easy to kind of like, myself and the other instructor would go, hey, dude, this is kind of what we do. This is what you do. Why don't we give them the option of the two, right? So that's the way that you work through that kind of a thing. So
Yeah.
what ended up happening was I was like, you know what? Okay, so myself and a couple guys got together and we just formed a training company. That particular training company didn't last very long for various reasons, but the training company that I have now that I've had for a long time, um, our focus is that we go out and we do training. We get asked to come and do training, but uh, the continuity of the training is all SEB guys.
Yeah.
So if I go out to Vic to do some training out in Patterson or wherever, he is getting myself and, one or two other SEB guys so that there's no like this and that and the other. So this is
Yeah.
what you're getting. Now, whether you elect to go, okay, hey, that was all cool for the 3 days. I'm going to get another view over here with some guys from LAPD or something like that. Absolutely. You should do that. There is no one way to do anything, right? So,
Yeah.
you should go out and expect, and SEB does that as well. We're not inbred. We don't sit there and do, inbred training all the time. We reach out, we bring people in, we send guys out and stuff to learn new things because, as busy as we are and as big as we are, and, I even tell people, we're super spoiled. We have all this equipment and this and that and the other, but we work in a very small team, um, tactical fashion, just like the rest of
Yeah.
the country, right? We're just full time. So, so I built this company and, it's been extremely successful. And I know a lot of people that have said, that they were very hesitant when we came out because they're like, oh, we're going to get these freaking douchebags from LA County. These guys
Yeah.
are going to come out here. They're going to shove everything down our throat. And what they find is that's not the case at all. We're going to offer
Yeah.
you what we have because, man, when you're getting 200 to 250, 200 set of call outs a year, we have fallen on our face so many times that
Yeah.
now we can come out and go, "Hey, dude, don't do this." You know, we're very humble. We don't shove anything down anybody's throat. You know,
Yeah.
we just like, "Hey, man, this is what this." You know, we use the armor like this because, well, I don't know, because we've used it 15 times last week. You know,
Yeah.
so you know, and so when I uh, created integrated tactical concepts, we just started getting a flood. And now we're doing, we're, you know, 40, 50 classes a year, including SWAT schools, to the point where the state of California called us and said, could you please put on more SWAT schools? Because everything's post approved, right? So,
Yeah.
because they're running out of time. You got guys deploying out there from tactical teams all around the state of California, and they've never been to SWAT school, and they're just opening themselves up to litigation and the
Oh
department.
shit.
So,
Yikes.
so
Yikes.
Post is
Yeah.
calling us. They're like, "Hey, man, would you guys mind doing a couple more SWAT schools?" Which why would we not? Because the
Yeah.
SWAT school curriculum is that of SEBs, and all the instructors that are coming in, they're all SEB guys. So
So,
that's how
so
that
when
happens.
when you went out to Jersey, was it under the company that you started, or were you still with the county?
It was under a company. Yeah,
It was under the company. Okay. I
yeah.
listen. What I'm saying, I like. I think what you're talking about is necessary because you were talking about the inbreeding. A
Hmm.
lot of agencies, and again, I have I guess the benefit, Secret Service. We worked with agencies from all over the country, and they're vastly different. I mean, NYPD, LAPD, Dallas, Chicago, big Miami, all these big, but
Sure.
they operate very differently, and even some of their language and anyway, whatever. But you can see a lot of it is like, this is the only way, this is the best way, and I'm like, dude, that's that. I was just whatever. I was just in this place, and this worked really well. Well, we don't do it that, whatever it is. But it's like
Right.
shielding yourself off from learning new things. Uh, well, I think it's a mistake. But anyway, so what you're talking about speaks to me personally, just because I've
Right.
seen it with my own eyes, and the fact that you're doing it, and also I just think it's such a cool thing for Patterson to the leadership to be like, hey, we need this. So anyway, I like that kind of that story what you're talking about.
What
Yeah.
made it even better is because we had a bear cat, and a
Yeah,
neighboring county had the bear,
Hmm.
big one,
Yep.
and we trained. They showed us how to. So now we have a memorandum of understanding
yeah,
with them. So if there's anything that we needed to use, you know, the bear or vice versa, if they needed the bear cat, we learned how to utilize both vehicles, which was huge game changer.
Yeah.
dude, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
And that's the whole mutual aid thing too.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
when you're starting to deal with, like, I don't know if you guys still work with like Bergen County. Is that who you're running around with at all?
that's well, they actually got absorbed by Bergen County Sheriff's Department
Oh, okay.
because that
Okay.
was Bergen County Police,
Yeah.
and once they
Because
got absorbed,
the mutual aid is like every time we put on a class, I don't care if it's hostage rescue,
Yeah.
any of our sniper classes, any of our armored vehicle classes, warrant classes, team commander classes, you name it. We have like 20 different disciplines that we'll put on a class for. Every single one of them, we discuss mutual aid with the other agency because, it's so important that guys understand the SEB and the full-time teams, Dallas and LAPD and us and San Diego, we are a patrol resource. Those collateral teams out there, I don't think they understand how important it is that we are a call, like, hey, things are going to hell, call SEB.
Yeah.
Whereas these guys that are out on the street, everything starts right there in patrol, everything. And those dudes that are out there, you might have like a sprinkling of SWAT guys, right? Because they're a collateral
Yeah.
team. But those are the ones that are like, hey, we better have our shit together because if we don't, things can go south quick.
yeah, for
Let me
sure.
let me ask you
Yeah.
this. Sorry, and there's a few stories I want to get to that we talked about prior to, but I want to ask a couple questions. So when I worked for Maine State Police, there's like 23 SWAT guys for the entire state of Maine,
Oh,
which I don't think people understand because sometimes it might take you 6 hours. It just depends on where you are in the state. Which actually LA County, you might understand. I've run code when I was a trooper so long I had to stop, get gas, and then keep running code because it just took that long.
no, it's
Which
LA.
was
We have in-flight refueling. It's no big deal.
fair enough. Yeah, fair. Well, real quick, just because you're on here, I've told Vic this, but I went from Hillsboro where we had, we had all the teams because it was 1,200 deputies, which, you're 10,000. It's just so
Yeah.
vast in my mind. But anyway, I'm now a trooper in Maine, and I get to a burglary. I'm in rural Maine, and I get on the radio, which is like this big. It's like a giant. I mean, it is.
Did you have to wind it up?
Oh, it was so ridiculous. And I'm like, I need aviation, canine. Like I'm calling out all this stuff.
Yeah.
And my phone starts ringing in my pocket. And I'm like, and I'm like chasing this guy through the fucking wood. Anyway, and it rings. And I finally go, it was my sarge. I go, sir. He goes, stop what you're doing right now. And I was like, sir? He goes, did I hear you just call for canine and aviation? I was like, well, yeah, I've got a burglar. He goes, canine's 2 hours away. We have a fixed wing that's 4 hours away. Stop what you're doing. There's 8 people that live out there. We'll figure it out. Go back. I was like, okay. I was like, oh, I guess you're right. I went back into city.
Yeah, the other light bulb, bing. Oh,
yeah.
You know what?
Wait, where am I? Oh shit. So anyway, but anyway, what I was getting to is on your teams. So in Maine, basically everybody's cross trained, or they work up to that. So they're all SWAT school, sniper school, breacher school. I don't think they all go to. Vic, I'm sorry because I'm going to misspeak. Don't get mad at me. Breacher, explosive, whatever. I know there's a difference, but yeah, not everyone's cross trained on that. But basically, when 5 people show up, that's your team, and then they kind of just go, "Hey, you're the sniper. You're whatever." Because they've all been cross trained. Is that how it was in your team, or did you have those specific specialties because you were full time?
Yeah, no. So everybody pretty much cross trained at one point. So like I ran the sniper program for about 5 years before I became a scout of my team. But everybody would, for the most part, go to sniper school. Those that were interested would go to explosive breaching school. Clearly, everybody was a manual breacher. And then you have your technology crew, right? So you get guys that are really into that kind of stuff. So you got guys, hey, I'm going to drone this, I'm going to robot this, because we are such a full-time team and everybody has to be at least familiar with how everything works, what we would do is, so for SEB, you had you would have teams, two teams that would work Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Okay, so that's their shift, and then you would have the other remaining teams that would work Tuesday or Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, right? So everybody would work Monday. And the reason for that was now we can bring everybody together out of all 6 teams.
Yeah.
And we can pick a discipline. Hey, we're doing technology this week. The blue team has control of that. They're going to teach everybody the new robots. They're going to teach everybody the drones, the pole cameras, the robot dog, whatever it's going to be. Okay. And then, so that's how we would keep that continuity between all the teams, and then everybody would know. So it would be a shooting day. You had to be there. It would have to be a long rifle day. You would have to be there because, guys think that these snipers, they're like, oh yeah, he's going to go out and he just shot his cold shot in his group from 100 yards. Everything looks good. And then we go, okay. And now we're going to move into the mental side of it, the shoot, the don't shoot and all that other stuff, because it's just the way it goes. And in that area, like I said, when I was running the sniper team, it wasn't uncommon for me to, pull aside a sniper and go, hey, let me take a look at your data book. And then be like, oh, okay, whatever. Because remember, this is peer to peer. This isn't supervised or anything like that.
Yeah.
And so I would get the data book and look through it. I'm like, hey, man, you're a minute and a half left on your last 5 cold shots and you haven't fixed anything. What's your deal? And whatever that is, it's like, oh, well, maybe my rings aren't tight or my, whatever it's going to be.
Yeah.
But the reality is this: the next time I build the team on the wall and I'm looking for a sniper, am I going to use that dude?
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah.
I'm not. Not until he gets his shit straight, right? And people have checked me too. I'm not the god of it all. Hey, George, let me see your book. Here you go, man. It's not like you open it and cobwebs come out. Everything's legit and it's squared away right there. Because guys need to understand the bigger picture on these tactical teams, man. We're trying to we're trying to stay professional. We're trying to stay intact. So if you end up having to, shoot somebody with a long gun, that
Yeah.
sniper book's going to court.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
and if you
That-
It's exactly what I thought.
some former dirtbag SWAT guy that decides he wants to go to the dark side, testify against SWAT guys, and he has some tactical knowledge, he's going to bring that shit up.
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
can't
usually
have
the first thing they subpoena is your training records.
Yeah.
100%, and he's going to try and eat you alive, and it's like, nah, you can
I'm
try with
glad.
me.
I'm glad you said it that way because, again, I've been in law enforcement for a while, but you get that, and we've all met him. You guys worked with him, but I met him from the outside looking in. The fucking asshole guys that are like, oh, what a fucking douche. But then you meet I guess I don't want to call them the cool, but they're just normal humans, but they just happen to have a unique skill set. And you're
Mhm.
like, ah, dude. And they talk about it's a profession within the profession kind of a thing. Like, they just train harder. I guess what I'm trying to say is like you need to hold yourself to a certain standard, like what you're talking about, because when shit hits the fan, that's who you're looking to. Because here you are, you're a cop, and you're like, I need help. These are when they get there, you're supposed to be like, oh, thank God they're there,
Mhm.
right? That's the feeling, and then
Mhm.
whatever they do, you're like, they're doing it the right way. And if you see them and they're fucking assholes or their shit's not straight, or like what you're talking about,
Yeah.
they're not squared away. You're like, what the fuck? What kind of shit show is this? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It erodes the confidence. So what I understand what you're talking about,
Yeah.
but
And
I'm
you don't
glad you're
like
saying
being
it that way.
Yeah, and you don't like being treated like that anyway,
No.
and because like you said, Tyler, you brought up a good point, is that, like, for us, like, when I would get a new guy on my team, he
Well,
would get hammered with hostage rescue, hammered, hammered,
yeah,
hammered, process, thinking, why we're going,
yeah,
why we're not going, this and that, for months and months and months, because the bottom line is this: when the big one goes out and they hit the big red button, we got a big ugly hostage rescue problem, and it happens to be a mile and a half from that guy's house. When
yeah.
he shows up in them fancy greens and all that, nobody gives a shit that he's been at SEB for a month and a half.
No,
They
they're
look at
looking at
him and
you.
go, "Thank God, SWAT's here."
Yes.
And in the end,
Yeah.
in the meantime, he's all, "Holy shit, I should have called in dead or something, man, because I don't want nothing to do with this."
Yeah.
So yeah, it's tactics, and SWAT is it's a big thing, man. So
No. And Vic, you talked about it on the your last one that we did, but you were talking about how like, 'cause again, I'm just trying to I'm speaking to the perceptions that kind of gets put out there sometimes from those who don't know or don't understand. But people are like, "Oh, SWAT's here. They're just gonna blow everything fucking up, and they're gonna make they're just cowboy, whatever it is." And I guess sometimes there's room for that. I don't know, but when you talked about it, you're like, "No, dude, we're checking all these boxes, and if there's a box out here that's not checked, we're not going, or we're not going till you figure that
mhm,
like we need a plan because even I mean." We all know best laid plans can still go to shit, but we're going to at least have as much intel as we can possibly have before we go in. And I don't, I meant to dive into it when you said that, but that's how it should be. And I guess it's good to see that. I mean, here, two sides of the United States here, and you guys are talking and speaking the same
It's the
language.
same
That's there.
story, yeah.
Yeah,
yeah,
which is
yeah,
good. Which is good.
yeah. Well, we are all a lot the same, dude. I mean, I've been all over the world,
Yeah.
and cops are cops. I mean, you might
Yep.
have, like we always like to say, we all have our fundamentals in law enforcement, right? And
Yeah.
then you might have a preference over here. Like, this
Yeah.
is the
Yeah.
base right here, but I like to do it this way. You like to do it this way. But for some reason, we all come around and we meet in the middle and we're all good. So,
For sure.
George, you just sparked my memory when you said something about going all over around the world. I think it might have been you. You said I think you might have been like in Scotland or somewhere in Europe, and you said like all cops are the same. And he said if you close your eyes and listen to them speak, it's like just like being anywhere else in the country. I think
Well,
that might have been you.
uh, well,
They talk
you got to
about like
remember,
who's
I
where
sometimes
they're
I'm
gonna
a,
go eat. This one's complaining about his wife. This was I think that I think it might have been you that said that.
maybe.
yeah. Well, I tell you, man, we've been around. It's a story for another time, but
Yep.
our training in Thailand, our training over in the Middle East, and our training in Australia and places like that. I mean, those, like, on the surface, we're pretty much all the same, but
Well,
they they got some things going on that they that's you just got to go, oh, okay, we don't do it that way, but hey, man, if you can get away with it, go right ahead.
Sounds great.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah, we don't need it. We don't need a Bearcat. We just throw fucking shit in there. Anyway, different countries. So I did have Francois. He's the deputy director for the French National Police on a few episodes. His stories are fucking amazing. But I'm trying to get more of my contacts overseas, but right now it's not a great climate for them to talk. So they're like, give me a little. There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
But there is a lot of foundational stuff. But people will be amazed, I think, at the way law enforcement is perceived, carried out, and then like I don't know how to phrase it right. Kind of there some of the limitations that are put on them in some countries. You're like, what the fuck, dude? Like certain age, I can speak to like England and London and stuff. 90% of the cops there don't carry any firearms, and if you are blessed off and sworn off and trained, it's like in a triple secret lockbox where you got to have 2 keys to pull out the old. I'm like,
Yeah.
why do you even have it? But anyway, that's the whole nother, but it's just the ideas around it are, and they all have reasons. They're like, oh, this is how however it works. But anyway, so I'm interested. Maybe we'll have to talk about the overseas training on another one because that does sound interesting. But I want to respect your time. But I do, if you don't mind, I would love because you dropped these nuggets out, Vic, before you jumped on. But you did can you explain the 3,000-mile bike ride? I just want to. It has nothing to do with law enforcement, or maybe it does. I don't know, but that is fascinating to me. Could you don't have to like get into all the weeds, but just kind of what it is and what made you do it?
Well, probably the root of it is that, growing up in Wyoming, I was literally outdoors all the time.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I've had plenty of conversations with, my dad's passed on, but my mom, where she remembers I'd be like, hey, I'm going out with so and so, and we grab our 22 rifles and a brick of 22 shell, and maybe a sleeping bag and whatever, and she wouldn't see me for like 3 days. So I'm always out and about doing something, and back then people. Well, now that I'm thinking about it, maybe she just didn't give a shit. I don't know, but
yeah, he'll be
she
fine.
didn't care.
It's not like there's not grizzlies and wolves and shit, but yeah.
So I've always been into cycling, so I ride, but I found just going over the internet years ago. Well, before that, I would ride from our home in when I lived in California. I would ride from our home in California, and I would road ride up to our place in Wyoming. Right, so it's only like maybe 750 miles, right around there. And
Only.
I would do the
road.
I would do the road ride thing. But then I was just going through the internet one day and I saw this. I'm like, wow. And so what it is, it's called the Great Divide Mountain Bike Route. And it starts at a place in, I'll take it back. So there's the Great Divide Mountain Bike Route, but it's actually a race. It's not sanctioned or anything like that. There is no, you don't get any medals or money at the finish line or anything like that. But what it is the longest mountain bike route in the world. So it goes now it goes from Jasper, Canada, down to Mexico. But before it went from Banff, Canada, down to Mexico. Okay.
Wow.
And I elected to go northbound from Mexico up because it fit my schedule a little bit better, right? So, but it's a self-contained. You have everything on your bike. You carry your water, you carry your food, any repair gear, your sleeping bag, your tent, your clothing, everything that you think you would need. You have that on your bike, and you start down there at the border at Antelope Wells, and you have a 2,750-mile ride, basically up the Rocky Mountains. You cross the Continental Divide about 32 times, and you can go from your highest point is Indiana Pass, and that is up to 12,000 feet. So
that's gonna feel good in the lungs.
Yeah.
Well, you know what the good thing about that is I found that starting south, you kind of acclimate a little bit by the time that you really start climbing. But I will give you this, like a lot of people think Colorado, Wyoming,
Yeah.
Montana, oh my gosh, the hills are crazy. New Mexico is ridiculous. The
Yeah.
climbing, because you'll climb up to 9,000, drop down to 4. Climb another 4,000, drop down to 2. It
Jeez.
was insane. So, um, but yeah, I rode that, and you come across like convenience stores, and the trail actually takes you into like some pretty significant towns like Silver City and Steamboat Springs, and places like
Wow.
that
Okay.
that you can replenish, right? So, um, but the diet plan, you're drinking a ton of water,
Yeah.
you're drinking electrolytes, you're eating whatever you want. Like I would eat a ton of payday bars, Pop Tarts, uh, oatmeal. Like, dude, I would come into town, and because your deficit probably 5,000 to 6,000 calories a day, depending, and you would come
So,
into town and you're like, oh, there's a McDonald's. I haven't eaten there since Grimace was doing whatever. So you know, I'd
the
buy like
grimace shake.
five
Yeah.
quarter pounder with cheese and wolf down 3 of them and put 2 of them in my bag. And I'm like, I'm gonna eat these later. So
Yeah.
you're constantly burning calories,
Yeah.
but it's a total adventure out there because you are like in the middle of nowhere. We had 2 grizzly encounters,
On a
which
bike.
was fine. You get through it, no big deal. But the storms, like the weather, like we came across a couple of lightning storms in New
Yeah.
Mexico, and like it's a total adventure, right? We're out on this road, like riding, and like it is just, and I know how lightning works. It'll kill you in a second. You won't even know it, right?
Yeah.
And it's just busting over the top of us. Well, here comes this pickup truck and pulls up, and it's this. We're on the Navajo Nation in New Mexico, right? So it's this Navajo guy,
Mhm.
and he's all, "Hey, you guys shouldn't be out here, this and that." We're like, "Yeah, no shit, man. Where do you want me to go? It's like desert everywhere, and
Yeah.
he's all, "You guys need to come to my house and get out of this stuff." And I'm like, "Hey, man, that's really nice of you." And and then the police mode kicks in, right? You're like,
Yeah. I was like, hell nah.
what's this guy up to?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And he's already liquored up, because like you could tell, right? He's
Yeah.
liquored
Yeah.
up, and he's like, "Hey, I live down that little dirt road. You guys come to our house, whatever."
It
So
wasn't your old lieutenant in your interview, was it?
might have been. Might have been. Yeah. That guy might
Don't worry
be.
about
I
that.
hope he's not dead, but he probably is. But
Well,
anyway,
well, anyhow.
so we end up going to this guy's house, and I got to give it to him, man. It wasn't. We must have like been a day ahead of the cleaners because all the dirt and all the mud and all the mice and all that shit were still all over inside of his house. So, but I got to
Yeah.
give it to him, man. I appreciate him getting us out of the storm, but man, I was ready to leave that thing. I didn't know if I was going to get the hunter virus or what was going on there. So, but it was like that the entire way. You run across a lot of you realize there's a lot of like really beautiful people out there, man. Just they see you in the middle of nowhere and they
Yeah.
stop and they give you stuff out of their coolers, and they all want to know where you're going, and
Yeah.
so yeah, it was an adventure. So, but
How many miles were you doing a day? Weather dependent, I guess.
weather dependent, but we averaged about 62. It took us 42 days. Yeah, to run that whole entire thing up there.
Uh,
Little bit more. So,
See, that's so
because we had
wild.
several days where we
Yeah.
were like well over 100. Like we did a lot of days that were 100. Now remember, dude, I've done this. I did it. You guys are gonna hate me. In 2018, I did it by myself from the border up to Wyoming, and
Okay.
then I got pneumonia from the forest fires, right? So I had to have my brother come pick me up, which is fine.
Oh.
So in 2020, yeah, 2020, I did it with a buddy of mine who had just retired from homicide. And we went the whole way up to the border, and then they wouldn't let us in because of COVID, right? So like, dang it. So now last year or this year in May, uh, we went with 3 other guys joined us. We lost 2 guys in the Wyoming basin. They're done. Anyway, but
You're like, that's a wrap.
yeah, so we went all the way up to Banff. So I'm
How
not
do you
very
get
bright.
all?
My wife's all, like, why don't you just go to the border and finish? Why do you have to do the whole thing over again? I'm like, oh, that's cheating. You can't do that. So,
Yeah, no. How do you get back from there? Do you have to fly? 'Cause I don't know.
oh my
I'm just.
God, it's such a. So check
It's got
this
to be a
out.
pain in the ass. Yeah.
It was so we get into Banff, right? And we're
Yeah.
like, yeah, okay, we're done. Yeah, this and that and the other. We're like, hey, where are we staying tonight? Because usually we're sleeping out in the sticks, right? So
Yeah.
so we're thumbing through and we're like, oh my gosh, like the Banff hotel is like $1,200 a night. We're like, bro, let's
Yeah.
go to the park
Do
and just
it. Just
crash
do it
out,
at this
man.
point.
Well, we ended up finding like a hostel, right? So I'm like, oh,
Oh
that's cool.
boy.
Let's try that. Let's try that.
All
Listen to
my
your
hairs are
Tyler,
pricking
your
up
you're
on my neck.
story.
telling you.
You're staying with strange men. Now you're going to a hostel. You're like, what are
Okay,
we
well,
doing,
this is
George?
even worse. This made it
Oh
even
my
worse.
god.
I felt like a pedophile, man. All these kids in the hostel are like, they're like 19 years old and
Oh
20, all these. I'm like, why am I down here in this bar? I'm getting out of here, right? And then, I go up to my room area and it's a hostel. It's random, man. I've got this upper bunk. I got a gal sleeping below me. My buddy's over here. There's a dude sleeping there
No.
and two other girls sleeping over there. I'm like, bro, I'm way too old for this shit. I'm out of
yeah.
here.
I would have just left all my shit and got on a plane.
Well, so we actually ended up the next day we were able to book a bus that took our bikes and everything over to Calgary. So we had to throw all of our shit there, and we found a bike shop in Calgary that had some bike boxes. So we had to break our bikes down, just completely dismantle them, put them in boxes. And so we called a shipping place, and they're like, "Oh yeah, it's $700 to send that shit back to the states." I'm
That's what
like,
I'm thinking. I'm like, dude, how to get back? Yeah.
yeah, I'm like, hey, is this like a Trump tariff or what's going on here? You guys fucking hit me up or? So I called United Airlines and I'm all, hey, I'm flying on this day. What's it cost to ship a bike back? And they're all, nothing. It's just a
Luggage.
checked baggage. I'm like,
Yeah.
yes. So that's what we did. And it was hassle free, not a problem at all. So
So
See,
was there any, number one, was there any weight loss? Like, did you lose weight when you were doing this?
yeah, 32 pounds.
That's
holy shit, in
crazy.
42
Yeah,
days, dude.
I lost 32
32
pounds.
pounds.
And it
It's
was
almost a
funny,
pound a
like,
day.
I
How big
think,
was your beard? Was it bigger than Tyler's?
no,
I
wasn't
keep
that
mine
big.
groomed, bro. I keep mine groomed.
Yeah, wasn't that big. But I had like my wife, like I think I've been back like 2 or 3 days or whatever, and she's, she takes her hand and wraps it around my bicep. Basically, she's all,
Oh
Oh,
yeah,
no.
you need to get back in the gym. I'm like, I can still backhand you. I don't,
Well, you
so
said you guys know how hostile is. No, I don't. I'm too old for that, bro. But that time
yeah,
has passed for
100%.
me.
I learned my lesson. Yeah,
Well, my uncle does that. He every year he takes 2 months and he goes and backpacks through the
Mm.
U.S., other countries, whatever he does. I mean, he was in like I don't know, wherever Romania, the Baltic Sea area, whatever you call
Yeah,
that, Eastern Europe, and he's staying in hostels. I'm like, dude, you're 60 something years old. What are you doing?
that's what
But he
they,
loves it, and I'm like,
but they
no
look at you
fucking,
funny.
yeah, no fucking way. I'm too
Yeah,
old, bro. All right, last story,
yeah,
because I just a shorter one, but because you talked about, and actually, I didn't get the timing of it, but you said you the last deer you remember shooting was like 700 yards away, and you're like, all right, I'm cheating, so you switched to archery. But was that
yeah.
was that like after you'd been trained, and you're like, all right, this isn't fair anymore?
Yeah. Yeah. No, 100%. I gone to multiple schools,
He's like a highly
and
trained sniper.
I was I was I was lucky enough to get a couple of schools from some Marine Corps snipers, and
Yeah,
they going over really really teaching you the mathematics of the whole thing and everything,
yeah,
depending on your optics and all that. But I really enjoy that. I still do a ton of long range shooting. Um, and so yeah, so I had all that, and then I was with some buddies, and we were deer hunting in Wyoming, like literally not far from my property, and this deer was all the way across this ravine, and kind of down at an angle, just coming out of the trees. Yeah, throwing it all together with the distance and the wind and the angle and all that other stuff, and just one shot in the engine room, and I'm like, okay, that's not even fair anymore. So,
Yeah.
I stopped, and then I went and bought myself a Hoyt, bow, and I'm just like, oh, I'm all over this. I can't wait to get my, so I got in my tags and all that other stuff. I didn't get shit for 3 years. Man. It's like,
It's a different game, baby. The bow hunting is a different game.
it sure is. But once you get that first one, and in Wyoming, where I hunted in Wyoming, it's not tree stand hunting. Like you're
You're
glassing
ground.
and you're finding those big bucks out in that tall, 3-4 foot sage, and then you crawl for 2 or 3 hours to get to them, and so by the time you get them, you're just as bloody. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
no, you
So
got to carry it
I've been
back,
archery hunting ever since then. So.
dude.
Sounds like a lot of work. I'm a city boy, so that's
I know. Vic's like, I don't even understand what's going on.
Yeah, he's like straight to the market, man. Costco.
yeah. I know. Well, I know that deer is 700 yards away downhill, and now I have to go get him. You have to get his guts out and stuff like that, right? Like that and drag. Where they got to drag him all the way up to where you.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, you got to
as many days as to ride your bike across the border.
Yeah.
Oh, perfect,
Sure.
George. Dude, I know we kind of, as we typically do, just you had an expansive career, but I really appreciate your time. I appreciate this. I'd love to have you come back. Don't know when, but I'd love to dig into a little bit more stuff. Definitely the overseas training stuff, because I'm definitely trying to work on that. We'll talk offline, but thank you very much, man. That was great.
Hey, yeah, man. No, thanks for having me on. And yeah, no, I appreciate anything. Anytime you need something, man, we can chat it up. So, and Vic, I always love seeing you, my friend. So
yeah, buddy.
Now that he doesn't look like Mr. Burns, so that's good.
I'm back to full strength.
See, George goes on 3,000-mile bike rides. You
I don't do that.
No, I know. You do it the harder way.
Hey, anytime you want to go, let me know. I'll take you.
I think I would love it. All right,
I'll get a motorcycle with Tyler, and he can just ride in the sidecar.
Yeah, I'd be.
I'd like to see that. You two looking like Dumb and Dumber riding around on your Vespa.
George, don't go anywhere. I'm gonna end it. But thank you again, brother.
You bet, buddy.